it's Fan. Welcome back. This is episode 2 of my art vlog where we have a leisurely draw and chat session. So this week I am working on some really fun fan art for the Mad Max Furiosa movie that we saw last week. So if you want to hear me ramble on and on about Mad Max movies and tackling fan art, then pull up a chair and let's get started. So for this piece, I decided to choose a very limited color palette before diving straight in. I personally love using limited color palettes because it just makes my life a whole lot easier. I'm not having to stop and figure out what color to choose. I just gotta slap the color down and go. So my general style is very cartoony and stylized, so a limited color palette seems to suit it pretty well. I generally pick out like 5 or 6 colors that I like, and I don't really think too deeply about it. I probably should, but this is just for an art journal, so I'm more concerned with getting it done than making it perfect. But yeah, lately I've been leaning towards using a lot of lavender for some reason. I'm just really vibing with that color lately. I guess I'm in my lavender era. I don't know. But yeah, this light purple Tombow marker I'm using for the characters is probably going to run out of ink pretty soon because I use it so much. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with a lot of purple in my personal opinion. I think in like maybe the last 5 years I've been trying to pay a lot more attention to having more fun with color and learning how different colors interact with one another. So yeah, I'm always on the lookout for interesting color combinations and color palettes to try out depending on like the mood I'm trying to achieve. But anyway, I wanted to do fan art for the movie Furiosa. We saw it a couple of days ago and I really liked it. I remember doing some digital fan art for Fury Road like a long time ago, which is wild. I think it's on my old Tumblr account, but I really enjoyed working on that. It got a pretty good response on Tumblr. I tried to make it look like a movie poster, and I drew Nux and Capable for that one. I just thought their little side story between them was super sweet. So, yeah. I have to take a moment, though, to gush about Fury Road because I am a huge fan. I've seen it like 3 or 4 times, and I'm convinced it's like the best action movie that's ever been made. Which is based on not a whole lot since I don't think I've seen that many action movies, but it's pretty up there, I think. And it's weird because I'm not super into like monster trucks or even like the Fast and Furious type of movies, but I absolutely loved Fury Road. I hadn't seen any like Mad Max movies prior to watching it, and I just remember like walking out of that theater and I don't know, just feeling as though I also had just huffed a lot of chrome paint or something. Like it was, and I guess it's kind of what you want out of a good action movie. You know, it surprised me in a way I wasn't expecting. Like I didn't know it was going to be like a car chase for 90% of the movie, or you know, I didn't know there was going to be like this very poignant feminist slant to the story. I didn't know that there was going to be a character that plays a fire spitting guitar while being strapped to a stack of amps racing into combat. Like I had no idea what this world was that was about to enter, but I knew that we had reached peak cinema here because everybody in the movie theater was just screaming at the top of their lungs just the entire time we were watching the movie. It's hands down one of like the best movie-going experiences I've had, because it was just so much fun. And from an artistic standpoint, like such an achievement too, because like when you think of post-apocalyptic movies set in the desert, they're usually like very drab looking. They're like really desaturated or something, but these movies are so colorful. Like they are not afraid to like hike up the saturation to full blast, and it's just such a visual feast. Like there's so many wonderful shots in these movies that are like paintings. And there's like these scenes at night that are really beautiful. My favorite scene in Fury Road is when they are racing through like this violent dust storm, and yeah, my eyes just didn't really blink during that entire scene. It was just so awesome. So yeah, I will admit though that when the Furiosa prequel was first announced, I had very mixed emotions about it. You know, because it had been like 9 years since like Fury Road was released, and at this point, like I just don't trust reboots and prequels and sequels because the majority of them have been major flops. So I wasn't sure if Furiosa was just like a cash grab type of movie that was piggybacking off of the success of Fury Road. And I think the other main problem was that I didn't understand why it needed to be made. Like, yes, Furiosa is a very compelling character, but you kind of knew everything you needed to know about her character in Fury Road. Like, that story is very simple. Like, it's very concise. And I'm always worried when, like, filmmakers feel compelled to, like, extend the story out further than it probably needed to for, like, a prequel, because it kind of ends up muddling, like, this once perfect little story that they had going. And I see that happening a lot in, like, other franchise style movies, and it can get so exhausting. But, you know, I do think Furiosa is a very good, like, solid movie, despite, you know, my initial misgivings. I guess I'll take a moment and just do, like, a really quick movie review of Furiosa. I'll be spoiler free, so don't worry. I have, like, 3, like, major points that I want to highlight about the movie. The first one is that it's definitely not Fury Road. And that's totally okay. You know, obviously it's hard to watch Furiosa and not compare it to Fury Road, but I think as I was watching it, it was pretty clear to me that the aim of this movie was never to try to replicate Fury Road, because that would have just been a dumb move, right? It's an entirely different beast of a story, and I think it was actually kind of smart to focus on a different character like Furiosa rather than Max, because we already know everything about Max at this point. Like, there's the funny thing about these characters is they don't have like a ton of backstory, you know? And this world that George Miller has created is like, it's far bigger than Max, so it doesn't make sense that we only see it through his perspective. So, as far as answering the question, like, did we need a prequel about Furiosa? I would argue yes. I think by telling the story of, like, Furiosa's origins, I think it lends more weight to the stuff you end up seeing in Fury Road. And it's, like, a good vehicle for allowing more, like, world building, too. So I think it blends pretty seamlessly into Fury Road. And yeah, so that's my first point, is that it's not Fury Road, but that's okay. The second point was that I thought the performances were really good. I wasn't sure about Anya Taylor-Joy taking over the role, but as always, like, that actress can do no wrong. I've loved her in pretty much like everything I've seen her in, especially Queen's Gambit. She's just amazing. And plus, like, her eyes are just so, they're so piercing in all of her movies. Like, definitely this one, too, because she's wearing that dark war makeup or whatever, and she just looks so intense and cool. And, I don't know. It was actually really hard to capture her, like, in my drawing. But yeah, I tried. And then I also think that I guess the other breakout performance in that movie was really Chris Hemsworth as Dementus, who plays he's the main villain in the story. And so I only know Chris Hemsworth from the Thor movies. So it was actually really hard for me to imagine him being like a baddie. But he did a really good job. What I thought was hilarious, though, was that I guess they knew that Chris Hemsworth is just like too beautiful to be a villain. So they felt they had to slap on this huge like prosthetic nose on his face. So that was like a little weird and like a little distracting in the beginning, but aside from that, like, Dementus was a great character. He made me laugh so many times. He's just like the strangest kind of villain, and that he's kind of dopey but evil and like weirdly vulnerable, like, all at the same time. So definitely a different kind of villain from like Immortan Joe. So yeah, great performances all around. My third point is that I think that the ending was awesome, but incredibly polarizing for, I think, general audiences. It's kind of freaky, I won't lie. And again, I won't go into spoiler territory, but I will say, if you're gonna have a revenge plot type of movie like this, it's hard to top a more memorable way to end things. The way I would describe the ending is that it's like pretty ridiculous and brutal, but vaguely poetic, you know? And I think those are the exact words I would use to describe a lot of the Mad Max movies. I still haven't seen Thunderdome, though, so I might be totally off on that one, but I don't know, the general tone of these movies are just so hard to describe. Like, they're violent, like, they're ultra violent, but they're also kind of derpy and funny. But, like, and then unexpectedly poignant in other moments. It's bizarre. This style that George Miller has infused this world with is just so unique, and I don't know, I just really appreciate that. It's one of those movies that you really have to go to the theater and see. So, yeah. And then it's just crazy that it's not doing well in the box office right now. It's been beat out by Garfield, of all movies. And that's just a real shame. I think George Miller deserves better, you know? He puts so much, like, artistry and thought and detail into these movies, and, like, nobody saw it. So, I don't know. I guess movies are just not doing well right now. Like, we're just living in really weird times as far as movie and the entertainment industry is concerned. Even, like, movie theaters are closing down because of low profits this year. In fact, the very movie theater that we saw Furiosa at, it's like part of a chain called the Alamo Draft House here in Texas. They closed that location and like 4 other DFW locations almost like the very next day. The franchisee apparently like filed for bankruptcy or whatever. And I was just so bummed because I really love that theater. I've watched maybe 80% of new movie releases there. We did the whole Barbie Oppenheimer thing there. So I was just super shocked to hear the news. And I do recall the movie being, like, the theater being very empty for Furiosa when we went. And so that was super sad, you know? Like, it really paled in comparison to how, like, fun and packed it was when we saw, you know, Fury Road like 9 years ago. So it's just wild, like, how much things have changed in recent years. I just never thought movie theaters would go down like this. Like, I don't want to see them, like, disappear the way that, like, blockbusters have disappeared, you know? I still like really enjoying the movie going experience. And it's a nice excuse to, like, get out of the house and, like, you know, go see something with my friends. So yeah, just kind of crazy. There have been rumors that Sony Pictures will buy up the Alamo Drafthouse chain, so maybe it's not totally dead, but we'll see, I guess. Maybe they'll lower the price of popcorn or something to entice people to come in, because $10 for popcorn is just not right. It's just, popcorn is so cheap. Like, why is it $10? This inflation thing is just, like, intense right now. But yeah, I love watching movies. I don't consider myself a movie buff by any means, but I rely on movies to, like, expose myself to new visual ideas. I think that's really important. That's why I love doing fan art for, like, film and TV every once in a while. It's just a great way to try something new and, like, practice character design, since I don't really draw people very much. I'm not, like, super comfortable with it. It's not the focus of my art practice usually, but I don't know, fan art is just a really great outlet for that kind of thing. I love drawing, like, interesting characters and, like, figuring out how to interpret them in, like, my style. And it's funny how much my opinion on fan art has, like, evolved over the years, because when I was little, I loved doing fan art. Like, all I ever did was draw, like, my favorite cartoon characters growing up. I remember drawing, like, Ariel from The Little Mermaid, like, over and over again. And whenever I see, like, young artists today show their work, I'm noticing that most of them are drawing essentially fan art, like drawing their favorite anime characters or whatever. And that's cool. It's definitely a great way to, like, learn. But I remember as I moved through college and I was, like, learning to be, like, a graphic designer, I tried to steer clear of doing fan art for a while because it didn't seem like the professional thing to do. Like, I was trying to focus on developing my skills for creating original work. So I would say there was, like, a kind of a dark period for me in terms of not really touching fan art. I kind of looked down on it for a while. I thought it was kind of cheesy, like a waste of time or whatever, but and also, like, whenever I did fan art, I felt a little bit embarrassed by it for some reason, but nowadays I'm, like, realizing how snobby that kind of perspective is, because at the end of the day, like, for a lot of people, making fan art just makes them happy, and, you know, that should be worth something, right? And I think one of the reasons to make art at all is to be, I guess, engaged in something. And whether you love it or hate it, fan art really engages people. So, you know, it's a way to, like, create community around something that they really enjoy. So yeah, don't be afraid to indulge in some fan art. It's all cool. It's a great way to learn and explore ideas, and and it keeps you drawing, and like that's like the most important thing. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this action-packed chat and draw session with me. Maybe I've convinced you to go see some Mad Max movies and do some fan art. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.